Okay, we're going to begin the evening with a public hearing for ordinance O-20-1, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the general fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for FY July 1, 2018 to June 30 of 2019 to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures. Does anybody in the audience have any comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll move forward to ordinance O-20-2, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the Water Park Fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30 of 2019 to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures. Anybody have any comments on this? Hearing none, I'll move on to ordinance O-20-3, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, amending the annual budget for the utility fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for the fiscal year July 1 of 2018 to June 30 of 2019 to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures. Any comment? Hearing none, I'm going to wait till about for the last two hearings just to stay on time. We can't start the regular meeting till 7. I expect it will start exactly at 7. So we're going to just take a 5-minute break. We can all talk again.
There you go. So when the poll is up, it's 25. 25. Backside where the tables
I'm in up to 4 million. I have a meter that does it, but I don't know how to do it. I know how to read 420 and stuff like that. You gotta use a special. It's on the meter, but it's called some other company. So I got to, well, it's on the calibration meter.
Can I approach that? Okay, I'll be the next.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll have a public hearing for ordinance O-20-4, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the Water Reclamation Treatment Plant Fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for fiscal year July 1/18 to June 30/19 to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures. Anybody in the audience have any comments? Hearing none, I'll move to our last public hearing, which is ordinance O-20-5, an ordinance of the Town of Chesapeake Beach, repealing in its entirety and reenacting Chapter 25 Ethics Public of the Chesapeake Beach Code to comply with Maryland Code General Provisions Article Title 5, and to meet the town's need for ethical and efficient government and matters generally relating to public ethics for officials, appointees, and employees of the town. Before I ask, does anybody have any comment? I do believe that the procedure would be to let the audience know that we have an amendment. Would you care just to announce what the amendment is, not discuss it at this point?
Sure, sure. There's one specific chapter or one paragraph in there that discusses the responsibility of town elected officials after they leave office and what they're allowed to, or how they're allowed to interact, with the town. So there'll be an amendment to update that section of the.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody in the audience have any comments on this? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. We still have a few minutes before we're legally allowed to start this meeting. So what I'm going to do at this time is, while we're waiting for that, I'm sorry.
You're not gonna sing.
I'm not going to sing. Thank you. No, I'm going to, I want to make a special recognition for a representative we have in the audience here from Den 10 Pack 789 of Dunkirk. I didn't ask the young fellow what his name is, but I think he's going to come up and give it to us, I think. What's your name, young man?
Logan Stevens.
Well, Logan, it's a pleasure meeting you. I
Thank
have a favor to ask you.
Yes.
Would you mind getting your picture taken with the mayor and town council?
Sure.
All righty. There we go. All right, let's do that.
He's so shy.
Yeah, I can tell. That's really good.
Thank you.
I don't know what's on TV, but you feel free to tell me that in your own time you want. Be the attorney.
So while we have a couple minutes, I'd mentioned at the last council meeting in January that I had the opportunity to speak to the local Boy Scout troop, and Logan. It was Logan's group that I spoke with in January, and part of that, they had very engaged discussion. Great kids, good questions, and so I invited them to feel free to come and join us today and see how we run a meeting. And Logan and his father came today, so we really appreciate having you come, and thank you for allowing me to speak with the group. So.
Right, I think that means it's 7. Let me put things on silent here, folks, and we'll begin. Okay. 7 o'clock, we'll begin the, I see we have more here, huh? So we have more representatives here from Den 10, Pack 789. Everybody who's in Den 10, please stand up. Give you a holler. Thanks for coming. Want to get your picture taken? You're not as bold as the other fella. Yeah. You only need one lawyer in the crowd here. Yeah. All right. Very good. We're going to begin. We're going to, take order. Let the record read that the entire council, minus Councilman Fink and Councilman Morris, are present. I'd be remiss if I didn't let everybody know that Councilman Morris is breaking his perfect attendance record, which, as I told him, I'd rather have him break that record than come in with the flu. So he understood. So thank you, Greg. I hope you're tuned in. Next, I'm going to ask the entire Den 10 who's here if they will lead the town in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Den 10. Next, I want to first I want to take a moment of silence for the young lady who actually had the flu and perished a few days ago. Kinsley was her name. She was from North Beach, our neighbor. And if we could, I just want to take a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you, everybody. As we all know, life is short. Young Kinsley was about 8 years old, I think, if I'm not right. I'm also, in a few seconds, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for a very special man who perished at the age of 92, John Castro's father, Jack. But before I do, I want to say a couple of things. I had the privilege to be at the viewing and meet his family and friends and get to know a little bit about Mr. Castro, who I didn't know. Mr. Castro, from what I know, he started the boys club up in Shadyside, I think, right? I know he was a big important member of the boys club down in Germantown. I'm a boys club kid, by the way, so that really hit home. Jack Castro, who probably didn't get sick till he was 91, lived a really good life. He was a great athlete in the DC area. And I had the privilege at that event to see all the sports headlines of who was. He was in the Cleveland Indians organization, but he also played football and probably track and basketball, and he played everything in the world. So he was a DC, sports hero. But there was one headline that I took a picture of it because it struck home. It was about, Jack Castro and how mighty he was with the bat, and it said, I guess there was a big game and he won it. And the big headline in the Washington paper said, and I'm quoting it, "A mighty man was Castro." I didn't know Jack when he was alive, but I'm sure did meet a hell of a guy at his passing. So having said that, and of course his son is a longtime employee and a valued employee of the town, John Castro. I like to have a moment of silence for Jack Castro as well. Thank you, everybody. At this time, I'll ask if there's public comment for any item that's on the agenda. Thank you. Retract that. I'm going to ask if I can have a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. You can see I've written all over it. I've scribbled over this thing, Larry. Have an excuse. All right. Any public comment on any item on the agenda? Hearing none, I move down. Approval of the minutes of the January 16th public hearings.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Approval of the minutes of the January 16th town council meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Next, I'm going to switch this next portion up. We have some presentations. I understand Chief Mills has another meeting to head out to, so I'm going to bump you from C to A, and then A to B. You know how that works. So Chief Mills is here to give us a little presentation on fire safety. So
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Over the last several years here in the town of Chesapeake Beach and North Beach area, since I've been the fire chief at North Beach Fire Department, we noticed that a lot of calls we were running, smoke detectors wouldn't be working when we got into the houses. Looked like maybe the sprinkler systems hadn't been checked. So I'm going to talk about smoke detectors first to let people know basically what the law requires of you as a citizen and to do your due diligence as a homeowner to protect your family. And January 1st of 2018, a state law was passed that any battery powered smoke detector only, not backed up by hardwire, but battery powered smoke detector, it would be replaced with a 10-year sealed smoke detector with a battery. Has nothing to do with the hardwire. It's just the battery powered smoke detectors. So let me read this. Sorry, I'm getting into technology. I don't need paper anymore.
it's only 2020. Don't hurry.
So anybody that's doing any renovating or reconditioning of their house or building new, you're required to have a hardwired with a battery backup. No more battery powered backup. But existing in your home, if you have a hardwired smoke detector in your home that is battery backup, you can replace it with a regular smoke detector, hardwired with a regular battery backup. Only for the battery powered smoke detector itself. It has to be the new 10-year sealed smoke detector. With that being said, all manufacturers of smoke detectors recommend that you replace your smoke detectors in your home every 5 to 10 years. The life of a smoke detector is 10 years. So they're saying 5 to 10. It all depends on what brand you buy or what type you buy, but it's 5 to 10 years. So when we run these calls and we go out to the people's houses and, you know, we go in and they might have burned some food up and we don't hear a smoke alarm going off or a smoke detector, as most people call it, it concerns us. You know, had they been asleep and the whole house caught on fire, would they not hear it or would they not know what's going on? So we encourage everybody that has smoke detectors to please change your batteries twice a year and your backup and your hardwired with your battery backups, and have them checked or replaced every 5 to 10 years. Replacement at 10, definitely checked at 5 years. That being said, I have about 300 smoke detectors I'm going to give the town. They're hardwired smoke detectors with battery backups. You can give them to people that already have existing smoke detectors that are hardwired. They were donated by a company called OneSource. A good friend of mine owns a company, and he reached out to me after the Gordon Stennon incident and forwarded me an email, and we've been talking back and forth, and I've been chatting with Holly. Sorry it's been so long. We got over here since that, but that's what we're going to do for you guys, and we'd like to see that y'all give them to the people in the community that need them the most.
Well, I applaud that, and I'd like to give you a round of applause for that. Thank you for that.
No problem. And then I was supposed to have a gentleman here with me from a sprinkler company, but they're stuck out in Herndon or Manassas somewhere. I will talk about fire sprinklers. Under NFPA 25, standard for inspection and testing and the maintenance of water-based fire protection systems, requires all systems, commercial as well as residential, to be annually inspected. Inspections require that systems show no signs of leakage, is free of corrosion, foreign materials, paints, and physical damage, and is installed in the correct orientation. NFPA further states that all backflow devices shall be internally inspected every 5 years. As you know, the State of Maryland Fire Marshal Office follows NFPA for all enforcement efforts. So just because you get a sprinkler system put in your home or in your commercial building, that's not the end of it. If you got one in your home, townhouse, single family, multifamily, they should be inspected every year. It's very important. I'm not here to say that we haven't ran across any that don't work, but you don't want to find out in a time of disaster that you have to get out and no sprinkler works. Fire sprinklers aren't meant to save buildings and property. They're meant to save lives. They're there to provide you enough time to get out, to keep the fire at bay while you get out. So I would encourage that you guys reach out to everybody in the community as well about the sprinkler inspections and the backflow preventer inspections on the sprinklers. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate you taking the time.
No
Know you
problem.
have,
Thank you.
know you have a busy evening ahead of you. Next, okay, is candidate for planning and zoning, Jeff Larson. Jeff, agreed to, volunteer to serve on this important committee. I've asked him to come and sort of informally meet the council before we vote on this, later on in the meeting. So Jeff, if you don't mind just, coming up and, giving us, tell us about yourself, 1 minute or less, and we'll ask you a couple questions.
My name's Jeff Larson. I moved to Chesapeake Beach the 4th of July weekend in 1995. I was dragged kicking and screaming to the Chesapeake area by my wife, and now you would have to remove me kicking and screaming. So I did a 180. I've been active in Doug Kirk Baptist Church, which I know is not part of Chesapeake Beach, but it's local. I've been very active with the Twin Beach Players Community Theater Group. And this is the longest I've ever lived in one place. And so even though I was raised outside of Philadelphia and lived in Virginia for a long time, I consider myself a beacher.
Amongst many of us. Well,
Yes.
thank you, Jeff. And I'm sure what we typically do is just see if the council wants to ask you a question or two as formality. I'll start with the vice president.
I don't have a question, but I do have a statement. Thank you for sharing your talents with Twin Beach Players. It's wonderful to watch you perform.
Thank you.
Jeff, maybe you could just share a couple thoughts on your interest in being on planning and zoning. What interests you in that?
Well, having been here for a while and watched it change, and mostly for the better, I think. I just wanted to be able to influence its progress and add, because of my duration living here, felt like I could make some comments and observations as the town grows and changes.
Well, it's nice to have another neighbor participating in town activities.
Thanks.
I don't have a question, more of a comment for those, Jeff, I know you raised your children here, lovely children, and your grandchildren, some of them anyhow, are being raised here.
Yeah.
So you definitely your family has a commitment to the beach, and,
Absolutely.
it was a great place to raise your family, and I'm quite sure you want that to stay the same. And that's really all we can ask of any of us, quite frankly. I think that's probably why all of us are up here, So having said that,
Thank you very much for volunteering
No.
to serve.
Mhm.
I do have one question. Can you just tell us a little bit more about Larson Products Corporation that's listed?
Sure. It's a family-owned business, and we manufacture glue. But it's a niche product. It's used in the concrete industry, and we make it up in Jessup, Maryland.
Okay.
It was not originally my intent to become a glue salesman when I graduated from college, but I had the offer that I couldn't refuse made to me by my father many years ago.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much once again.
I'm going to just interject, if you will. So, you mentioned Philly and you mentioned father, an offer you can't refuse. Was that South Philly?
No, West Philly, but
Okay.
real West Philly. And that wasn't even Philly.
Derek,
Well,
please.
yeah, and like all my colleagues, I want to thank you for offering to volunteer. So you've lived here for 25 years, like you said, and you've seen the town evolve. Can you point to something that you've seen over those 25 years, with the town that either you like or you dislike? And then as a follow-up, where do you see the town going in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, I've seen the town just improve, just aesthetically. It's, a more pleasant place to be. I've seen neighborhoods transformed, gradually and improve. I guess it's the Goldilocks conundrum about growth and how it's going to improve. What's too much? What's not enough? What's just right? And I don't know what that is exactly, except maybe I'll recognize it when I see it. But I wouldn't want to see Chesapeake Beach lose its small town charm. And the fact that it seems, and it is, very family oriented. Now, that's a prejudice of mine because I raised 6 kids here. I'm helping to raise 10 grandkids here. And I want them to have the same my grandkids to have the same kind of experience my kids had.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have a long meeting ahead. We won't be voting until the end. You can head home to your 15 million grandchildren if you like.
Well, one of them, Gus, it's his birthday today.
Oh,
So
then-
I
then-
gotta
then-
go.
yeah, then-
Wish him a happy
Thanks for
birthday.
taking the time, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Next, we have a presentation, a safety-related presentation. Before I introduce Al, as most of you know, about a week or so ago, we had an event down on, Bayfront Park. At the time, I woke up that day to helicopters just over my house, and at the time, we thought we had a tragedy where somebody would have been buried alive because a part of the cliff south of town collapsed. Fortunately, that didn't happen, but it woke us all up, to the what we have down there, and it's what I call a death trap. It's just something waiting to happen. Most of us know that 14 years ago, further south on Calvert Cliffs, there was an event, a collapse where a mother, her son and daughter were walking along the beach, and there was a collapse, and the 12-year-old young lady lost her life. As I learned real quickly, it happens like that because the dirt and the cliff just comes right down in your nose and your throat, and you're buried alive, quite frankly. So it's a serious event. We're lucky that nothing happened here, and in terms of public safety, we want to make some precautions that it doesn't happen again. And Mr. Jeffries, who's with the county, is here to just explain a little bit of this, the serious nature of it to us. So, Al Jeffries.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your council members and your citizens in Calvert County. My name's Al Jeffrey. I'm Deputy Director of Public Safety for Calvert County. Previously as Emergency Management Director. So we've been dealing with the cliff erosion and the collapse for years here. You know better than I how far these cliffs have receded. Mr. Larson has moved here kicking and screaming. I moved here 20 years too late in 2001. So I wish I'd have moved here sooner. I don't live in the beach. I live in Huntingtown, Brooms Island now. But the mayor makes a good point. And he's right on. The cliffs are very, very dangerous and you need to be aware of it. Sometimes you might need to take, which I recommended to the mayor when we talked down at the incident, that this beach probably underneath these cliffs need to be secluded and restricted area put up so people can't get in there easily. We all know you can put any barrier you want up to stop somebody from coming in, and they'll get around it. But it shouldn't stop. My recommendation shouldn't stop us from taking action to make sure that they're aware of the danger that they get in. These cliffs can collapse anytime. And like the mayor explained, the one young lady lost her life, but he used the term buried alive. I'm gonna change that phrase a little and say buried dead. When you get 20 tons of sand coming down on you from 70 feet, you can only imagine the force that's going to come down and hit you. That is a near 100% fatal accident. And you can't tell when these cliffs are when they're going to collapse. We're looking at them now. We're surveying all the cliffs to take a survey to see what condition they're in, so we have an understanding of where the high risk areas are. We're going to, matter of fact, you're going to be getting an invitation here shortly to a meeting with FEMA and MEMA about community projects specifically in these areas, hazard mitigation projects that we want to look at undertaking to see if we can make those cliffs safer. But truly believe that the public needs to understand the danger they face when they get on these cliffs. And after that incident, I'm sure everybody in the room saw it. I don't know if all your citizens saw it. There were actually 2 people climbing on the cliff face after it had collapsed, when it's in the most vulnerable state of secondary collapse. So I would urge you to take every action you could to isolate that area from easy access. I know there's the funding's issue to do that, maybe the legal issues, but I think you would be better served doing that, taking the action, than not taking any action and then have a tragedy like the mayor described earlier happen here.
Thank you. I'll ask the council, starting with Councilman, if we have any questions of you.
No, obviously very important topic, and it affects the whole county, like you said, not just our area. So we appreciate you coming here and talking to us and talking to our citizens.
Hi, thank you for coming down and speaking with us. I do have a question. I mean, this is a very serious issue. I know it's very dangerous. And when you say isolate that area, how you can walk out into the bay 200, 300, 400 yards, go around it. You look at the beach, there are logs, 3 times as thick as me that get tossed up onto the beach when we get a surge. And so what kind of barrier are you proposing that would help in this area?
So you're asking me a legal question that I don't know what you can put there legally. But my recommendation would be very clear signage, both in English and America's second language, rapidly becoming its second language in Spanish, so that it's in 2 languages, English and America's second language, rapidly becoming its second language in Spanish, so that it's in 2 languages. Yellow's caution, red's danger. From both sides. There's 3 ways to get to that cliff face: through Browning Beach, through the Randall's Cliff, and from the water. So are you going to be able to isolate all 3 of those entry points? Probably not, but I think it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile effort to undertake to isolate it as best you can and make your citizens aware of the dangers that they're facing if they cross that isolation point.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I know there's been conversation among some of the citizens out there about this very issue. That's why I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what possibilities there might be, because as I mentioned, I'm thinking physical barrier, it's going to get knocked down. Signage, yes, we got to have signs. And we've had signs. And education to our citizens and visitors to the park needs to be had. And I'm also just trying to think of what other ways can we do this. And one thing that kind of came to mind was, some sort of camera system there with the sign that says, this area is closed, you're being recorded, that kind of thing, just to discourage more so, because people walk around those signs all the time because there's nobody there to really check. But anyway, I just bring that up for discussion and thought for everybody. Thank you.
The only way you can really enforce it is with a physical enforcement person there, a guard, a park ranger, somebody like that. But you're right. if you put something there and somebody wants to get in, they're going to get in. But I think it's still a worthwhile effort to undertake to make sure that everybody is aware of the danger they're placing themselves in if they go around these barriers. And the other part is, you know, your residents probably have a really, really good idea of the danger that they face when they get in the bottom of the base of these cliffs. Well, who really doesn't know, maybe not, are your visitors, the ones that come from DC to enjoy the shoreline, that come down to hunt shark's teeth occasionally. The everyday shark tooth or archaeological digger comes down a lot. They know the danger and they're aware of it. Still, we need to preclude them from there too. But the visitors are the ones that really don't understand the risk they're putting themselves in. So that's why you really need to do a really good job of marking it and isolating it as best you can.
Thank you, Keith. And I'll make a comment. But one of the things that I said to you when we were on site and you were, recommending a barrier, a fence, or whatever you want to call it, was, but the first thing I thought of was mom and her kids. You come down that path. And I remember being a kid. I remember my little Patrick. Once he sees that water, somehow he pries loose from mom, and he runs. And the way it's set it up now, that if he takes a right, he runs. He takes a right. He's in the danger zone. I don't even know it. Mom's screaming after him, and a sign. When he's 7, he's not looking at signs. He's just running. Whereas a barrier is going to stop him. He knows when he sees a fence or whatever you want to call it that he's not allowed to go past it. And signs are great, but signs give you the I don't read that language. Signs give you. I thought it just said no smoking, like the other signs up at the parking lot said. You hear all kinds of reasons why people. I didn't have my glasses on. I didn't read the sign, but I do believe that everybody knows that if you've got to go over or under it or out in the water to pass what is now what we're going to put up, which is a cable wired fence. You can't go somewhere when it's that. And I know we had that conversation, and it's amazing what, along with Chief Mills, and it's amazing what you think of when you realize that there's a life or death, danger zone, and what you have to do to really make sure people understand that they cannot go there.
So you bring up Chief Mills and that incident. I was in his command post that day. We responded from our office down to assist Chief Mills as his command post company and give him any administrative help that he needed. Just to emphasize how he ran his incident, first priority in his incident command was safety. He had over 4 safety officers assigned to that incident to do nothing but make sure the people he was tasking with searching for the missing person were safe. 4 people.
Right.
4 trained safety officers that have done it for years. Your little boy and his mom, if we take that level of precaution and safety when we respond to an incident at the base of those cliffs, think how at risk mom is with her son as you described.
Yeah, and just one last thing before I go to Larry. That obviously, as I said, is my neighborhood. I've been going down there the longest of, maybe anybody in the room except Bucky. When it's hot, when it's sunny, people, and they don't care, they gravitate right to go under that cliff because it's shady. And you can talk to them till you're blue in the face about I know you're trying to avoid sunburn, but so it really it's more than just somebody they're trying to get shade. So it's very important that people know and they don't stop for the signs that we have up now. I can tell you. But anyhow, Larry.
Well, thanks for your comments, and I just wanted to reinforce your concerns that with the continued impact of climate change, these incidents are going to become more frequent.
And they are. The cliffs are eroding daily.
Yes.
We have several houses that we're watching now, several properties we're watching now to see how far the cliff face erodes over. And, we're coming up into the season where we're going to get some some challenging storms through here, as we always do during this upcoming time of year in the spring and the summer.
And with
So we'll be
increasing
watching those.
levels in the bay, water levels, that's going to have an impact on it as well. So it's a very timely concern. Thank you.
It is.
Yes, I also want to say thank you for coming and sharing your expertise with us. You mentioned in your talk, I mean, we've had this problem before. We had the slope collapse on B Street. We're well aware of these problems. And you mentioned that there was going to be a survey of high-risk areas. Do you know when that'll be done?
Well, I might have misquoted survey. We're going to make ourselves aware of them. We're not actually going out with survey crews, but we're going to go out and we do an annual shoreline survey to see how far the cliffs has receded. And then if any homeowner calls us, we'll go out and do a specific survey on their home, on their cliff face. A lot of them down in products because the cliff has collapsed so far back that the house eventually is going to fall into the bay. So that's a hazard mitigation project that we're working on with FEMA and MEMA to acquire the house, tear it down, return the land back to the way God intended it originally. So those are what we're doing. So as a survey, that's probably, I misquoted that, is we're going to make ourselves aware of the cliffs, cliff face and where the most unstable portions are so we can concentrate our efforts there.
That sounds reasonable. And you also mentioned a meeting. I wrote down a
Yes.
meeting, like
So
when and where and who and.
So we're still setting it up. We have the hazard mitigation officer from Maryland Emergency Management Agency, which is MEMA. I've been using, I'm sorry for not explaining what that was. Maryland Emergency Management Agency. They're the direct contact with FEMA. And FEMA has a hazard mitigation funding, $450 million this year. It's competitive bid, competitive grants to undertake community projects for projects like this to make houses safe, stormwater management, flooding, nuisance flooding, things like that. We have a meeting set up with their hazard mitigation officer next month. I have the email already in my drafts to hit send. I'm just trying to find a space big enough to host 40 to 60 people in a meeting room with all the AV equipment that we need to have the hazard mitigation officer make this present. Townships. It's the county, the townships, all the department. And obviously when I send the email out, the open invitation is to invite the staff that you think need to be at this meeting. So I know we've had previous meetings, but these aren't small projects. These are projects we're looking in the $5, $7, $10 million range. It would be a project like raising a road for 2 miles out of the flood zone. But when you do that, the engineering study has to be done. Is your town engineer here?
No.
Your engineering study has to be done because you're just going to divert the water that's going over the road. Where's that water going to go and how can you? So that's got to be in it. And it's still, these aren't 100% grants. They're 75-25. So we have a 25% contribution that we have to put towards it to remediate any hazard project that we undertake. But that email hopefully be coming out tomorrow to everybody to get it on their calendar.
Sounds good, Al.
And then I guess we're fortunately or unfortunately in a budget cycle coming up. And so I'm just wondering if there's anything that we should set aside for signage or fencing or what have you. And if so, I'd like to encourage that to happen.
I'm not going to get in your budget.
Yeah.
No, of course
But I think
not.
that's up to y'all.
Yeah.
But these projects that I'm talking about, the development and application process and the review and awarding is a 2 to 3 year process. These aren't immediate and they're competitive. Everybody in the country is competing for these dollars. So we have to develop the projects. We have to fill out the application. We have to submit it for review to MEMA. If they find it worthy enough as they rate it with all the other projects in the state, to forward it to FEMA, and then it has to go through the FEMA review and approval. So they're 2 or 3 year projects, but from the day you start to the day FEMA will award the grant, then it's a 3 to 5 year window you have to complete the grant, to complete the work. So it's a very long process, but it's a very worthwhile process.
Thanks, Al.
Okay. Can I take 1 second?
Thank you.
You got it.
I want to lend my voice to Chief Mills's statement about smoke detectors. I'm retired from DC Fire Department. My background's in the fire service for about 40 years. Smoke detectors save lives. Sprinkler systems save lives. I urge all your citizens to check their smoke detectors monthly. Change batteries with the change of the clock, and make sure your smoke detectors are installed properly and up to date. I just want to lend my voice to his. He brings up very good points.
Gotcha, Al. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
for
out.
the opportunity. It's great seeing everybody again. And Holly knows how to get a hold of me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Thank you, Al.
Have a good evening.
Have a great night. North Beach Volunteer Fire Department, we've seen the report. If we have any questions, we can funnel them to Larry. Thank you. Deputies report, we've read the report. Do we have any questions of the sergeant? Anybody on council have any questions of the sergeant? Hearing none. Thank you, Tom. Public Works report. We've read Jay's report. Do we have any questions of Jay? Hearing none. Code enforcement report. Do we have any questions of Connie? Town engineers report. We do. I don't know if we have a report in this. I'm sorry. Okay. We have a Wayne Newton is our temporary town engineer while we have that position out to bid. So if we do have any questions, just send them to Holly, and hopefully you'll get a chance to meet Wayne next meeting. Water park report. If we have any questions for Maryland, send them to Holly. Water reclamation treatment plant report. We've read John's report. Any questions of John?
Just a
Yes,
comment.
sir.
I just wanted to point out to everyone here in this report, it talks about the challenges that the plant faced in January with the heavy rains and getting plant back to normal operations, operators coming in the middle of the night, and so on and so forth over quite a long period of time, including early February. But I just wanted to also point out that even given all that, there were no spills from the plant during that period. So once again, John and your staff, job well done. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you. We don't have a treasurer's report as he's gearing up for the work sessions. Town administrators report. Is there anything that sticks out, Holly, that you want to mention?
No.
Okay, thank you. Give me
Question?
yeah, please.
I saw the date was yesterday for the trash services. Did we get bids?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know at this point.
I have one as well.
Yes, sir.
So it's not actually in your report, but it was in the engineering's report. The sidewalk, haven't heard an update on that in a while. Is that still at the state, or do you have any updates on that?
We requested additional clarification from our contractor, BAI, and we sent that over to the state. So they're in the process of reviewing it. So
So
we
we're
hope to be able to move forward here pretty
And we're
soon.
still 30+% on the
Yes,
design review.
yes.
And I have a question for Holly. It's something that Councilman Morris put up to me earlier. The median on 261 on 260. I'm sorry, right by the Octagon. I know that came in with the streetscape about 15 years ago or so, and it's a bit of a nuisance, to say the least, if you're coming from here and you're taking a left into the Octagon. And I was just wondering if we could, reach out to State Highway and see if they'll consider looking at that and maybe making it a little more, safer to the town. And thank you, Holly.
And if I could add on to that.
Yeah, please do, sir.
In fact, Jay and I just spoke about it a week or so ago. So within the Walkable Communities Advisory Group and in our plans that we're looking at some possibilities in that area and trimming that island in particular is.
Mayor's report. I have one. First, I just like to begin by wishing all the women in town and at this here meeting a belated Happy Valentine's I put month down here. I think my wife must have wrote this. Happy Valentine's month. If that's what you got, that's what it is. Okay. So it's related, but it's sincere. Next, we will be distributing these water conservation rulers to every household in town. It helps you measure the size of the drip, and it equates to actual, water waste over a 3-month period, which is what your bills are. And they're in the back for anybody to please, come take it, so you can stick it under there and figure out what you're wasting. I just want to make note that Fishing Creek is being dredged with a full 1.5 years, which is twice for this administration. And I think that's probably a record this is my 6th administration in town. And I don't recall us ever getting 2 grants from DNR and dredges. So that's great. And on that note, I want to give a special thanks to Holly, Paul Woodburn for their hard work, the town council for their, supporting the administration and helping forge this good relationship that we have with the governor, Senator Miller, and DNR, because, it's free grants that are coming in to get this work done. And as DNR told me when I first became mayor, they said, to be clear, Mr. Mayor, we have hundreds of waterways in Maryland. It's not that we're sitting around waiting to dredge your creek. They're everywhere. So you have to, part of Holly's job and Paul's job as engineer was to convince on that. And lastly, we recently received an extra 20 grand from DNR from their waterways fund for town ramps that are now ADA. This goes along with the original $80,000 grant. So that's $100,000 in grants that comes from, the hard work of the town administrator and, filling out these grants and, going over it, making calls, talking to Jay, the engineer, and making sure everything is, in line, so we can, basically beat out the other towns for this kind of money. So once again, when everybody knows I like free money, and I like to thank the people who give it to us. So I'm also thanking the people that worked hard for it. So that is my mayor's report. Moving on, vote on ordinance O-20-1, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the general fund of the town for fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30, 2019, to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Vote on ordinance O-20-2, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the Water Park Fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for the fiscal year July 1 of 2018 to June 30 of 2019, to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Vote on ordinance O-20-3, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the utility fund of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for the fiscal year July 1 of 2018 to June 30 of 2019, to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Vote on ordinance O-20-4, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, amending the annual budget for the water reclamation treatment plant of the Town of Chesapeake Beach for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30 of 2019, to reconcile expenses and income and ratify over expenditures.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. I'm going to take a drink of water before I get into E. Vote on ordinance O-20-5, an ordinance of the Town Council of Chesapeake Beach, repealing in its entirety and reenacting Chapter 25, Ethics Public of the Chesapeake Beach Code, to comply with Maryland Code General Provisions Article Title 5, and to meet the town's needs for ethical and efficient government and matters generally related to public ethics for officials, appointees, and employees of the town.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there an amendment?
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a motion to amend ordinance 0-20-5, chapter 25, section 24, post-employment limitations and restrictions. If I get a second, I'll explain.
Okay.
Second.
All right, in this section, there is a paragraph B, and when we reviewed this with the Ethics Commission, there was a question on the language in the existing paragraph B, and it was conflicting within itself. The Ethics Commission reviewed this and agreed and recommended a change. So the motion to amend is to completely replace the existing section or paragraph B with the following. A former elected official may not assist or represent another party for compensation in a matter that is subject to legislative action by the town of Chesapeake Beach for 1 calendar year after the elected official leaves office.
Any comments on the amendment?
Question, as I understood the proposed changes, there's a couple words that are left out of that are in here, and that includes the may not work for or contract with. Is that intentional?
This is Phil Key, Chairman of the Ethics Board.
Yeah, sorry about this whole problem. What is being recommended is the state's model language, and I presume it covers, everything that's in our current language. Also, well, we have to. Was Councilmember Favre noticed a blunder a couple of months ago, and we want to at least get that 5-year problem removed. And over the summer, we are going to be, once again, looking at the whole ordinance.
We have the amendment has a motion and a second. Can we vote on let's vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Now we're back to the actual ordinance, which we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you, everybody. Next, and thank you, Phil. Planning and zoning, there was a meeting held on January the 22nd. I don't know the nature of the meeting. Board of Appeals, no meeting was held. C-Box, John Bacon's here. Well, maybe not for us.
Well, we beat the Blues. Last January 25th and 26th, it was very exciting. And the mural that's hanging behind you is one of 3 that was painted.
Cool.
And if anybody wants to recount all the critters that are sitting on that mural, the official count is 532.
Wow.
I hope that's somewhere within 10% of being right. Because there's an awful lot of little things in there that may or may not be missed. As you remember, in our last council meeting, there was a misunderstanding between Mayor Mahoney and me about volunteering for the community mural. When I asked for volunteers, I thought I heard him say, "Yes, that's good." And then when I went to sit down, I heard him say, "Not me, not me." Well, something went wrong between not me, and the 25th, because the first thing I saw was Mayor Mahoney showed up. And he was there, talking with people and doing all kinds of good things for the program. And he left. And the next thing I know, on the next day, the 26th, Mayor Mahoney showed up. And I thought, I must not have heard him say, "Not me, not me." Anyway, he sat in the presentation by 2 students who are entrepreneurs of the future. And he asked some pretty interesting questions. Great note, the first presentation was by a young lady who wanted to start a cotton candy business. And as this business plan evolved, she talked about it being started in Las Vegas. Mayor Mahoney said, "What's the matter with Chesapeake Beach?" She said, "We'll get to that after a while." Anyway, so one of the judges who are from Northern High School, Future Business Leaders of America, asked her how many dollars she needed to start her cotton candy business. And she said, billions and billions. And I thought, whoa, this is going to be a real neat business. So subsequent to that, we have looked up cotton candy machines. And we have reached out to this young lady to see if she really wants to start a cotton candy business in Chesapeake Beach, specifically coming to the different beach events like Stars and Stripes and Taste the Beaches and the like. And we're waiting to hear back from her as to whether she will want to do that, because we have figured out some private contributions to this fantastically expensive $149 cotton candy machine.
That's pretty cool.
We
John.
had our annual meeting here a couple of weeks ago. Well, let's say, 2 weeks ago. And there were 15 people there. And one of the things that we really wanted to do was to upgrade our literature. It's 10 years old, and it doesn't have a lot of modern electronic things hooked up to it. So we were looking into how to put in something called a QR code on all of our literature. And we've got a little subgroup started to do just that. And I want to thank Holly for videotaping the entire program and cutting out a particular section which wasn't appropriate. And we won't talk about what that section is because you'll never know, because it's not there. And that's really a great new thing to have in this town, whether it be the town meetings or whether it be committee meetings or whatever, is to have the ability to put it on a website so that the people who can't come or don't come are able at their own leisure to see what actually happened. And I think that's one of the reasons that this room is not near as full as it used to be, is because people can sit at home and see exactly what we're doing here right now, rather than getting out in the cold. And I thank you very much.
John, if that young lady wants to have a cotton candy.
Now, wait a
table-
minute. Now, I want to hear right.
Right. If that young lady wants to have a table at the Taste of the Beaches for her cotton candy venture, I'll ask the council at that time if they'll join me in chipping $3.50 each to pay for her table.
Well,
Okay. And
I'm waiting for her response as to whether she really wants to do this or not, or whether that was just a class assignment. Because it's kind of an interesting thing. If you look up cotton candy, you'll find that it is the most profitable of the carnival candies that there are. A cotton candy, whatever, thing costs 15 cents to make. That includes, all the ingredients and everything. So if you could sell that for, and I don't have any idea what they sell for because I've never had cotton candy in my life.
Really?
But if you sell that for $1, you make 85% profit. 85 cents profit on 15-cent investment. That's pretty darn neat. And maybe that's why she wants to do this, but she wants to start in Las Vegas. And
Yeah.
Except if we get her to start here, then we at least got a leg up on Las Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Before I go to economic development, actually, this is a lead into economic development committee. I'm moving on, John. Yeah.
Well, you're going to pay, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
he's
pay for
going to
that.
pay.
No, I'm going to go to the next subject on the agenda.
What?
I think what I'm trying to we're going to move on. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your presentation. And don't worry, if I can't get the $3 off these guys, I'll shove it myself, Yeah. Thank you, John. did say to that young lady, I said, I said, Las Vegas, that's open 24 hours. That's a lot of cotton candy to eat. People will get sick. And she was taken aback, and she said, well, I'm not doing this to get people sick. I thought she was going to say it's on them, Las Vegas, cotton candy. She said, well, I'm not doing this to get people sick. I said, okay. Thanks, John. Economic Development Committee. I think John started it for you with the.
Did you have a lead-in? You said you wanted to.
I thought John was a lead-in with the cotton candy business.
Yeah. Okay. Several things, and I apologize for not having submitted a written report, but most of this occurred in the last couple of days. Earlier in the week, as a member of the Calvert County Economic Development Advisory Commission, I attended the annual Maryland Economic Development Association Day in Annapolis. It was very interesting. We had presentations by a number of people, including Mark Fisher, Michael Jackson, and Gerald Clark. Learned a lot about what was going on in Annapolis, which can be scary sometimes, but it was very interesting. A couple things of interest that I picked up. There is, and I just heard it on the news tonight as well, so it appears to be getting some publicity. There's a bill pending in the General Assembly right now that would ban plastic carryout bags all through the state, starting July of 2021. In addition, there would be a 10-cent charge for paper bags. Again, the idea is not only to protect the waterways from the plastic bags, but to encourage recycling. So we'll see where that goes. This isn't the first attempt at doing this in the General Assembly, so we'll see, but it seemed to have some traction this year. So that was very interesting. I'm working with Chris Jakubiak, and I just met with Holly yesterday to talk about the comprehensive plan and to reach out to local businesses to get input from our local businesses in the comprehensive plan, which so far we haven't heard a whole lot from them. So I'm working with Holly and Chris to come up with a plan as to how to reach out to our local businesses and get their input, because from an economic development standpoint, the comprehensive plan lays out the future of our local businesses in town. So we'll keep you posted on that. One of the other things at the session in Annapolis talked a little bit about the census. I know we have a posting on the town website, but I just wanted to reinforce how important that is to our town, well, our state, our county, and our town, that we get an accurate count. And Dr. Bodine knows better than anybody what goes behind that. That it's critical that we get that. And traditionally, underrepresented groups include children and people over 65. So it's imperative that we reach out to those groups and get them. The official census date is April 1st. However, you will be able to begin to fill out the census forms in middle of March, and you can do it online and not have to fill out the paper. If they have not accounted for a particular address by early May, they're going to be sending people around to knock on doors. So just be aware of that. Final thing I wanted to bring up, it's not too early to start talking about Taste the Beaches 4, scheduled for Saturday, September 19th. And in a wonderful coincidence for a sailor like myself, that also happens to be National Talk Like a Pirate Day. So we'll have to make sure we integrate that somehow with Taste the Beaches. Thank you.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, Larry, I guess you aren't aware, I actually last week I testified in support of House Bill 209, which is the plastic bag ban, if you will, and submitted written testimony to both the Senate, which heard that bill today. I couldn't make it today because of this, but and if I had to put down $1, I would say I think it's going to pass this year. The angst, the only angst that I really heard from legislators was the 10 cents. And I actually, before I did testify, I actually had a conversation with Rollins, their owner there, about it, who understood that this was coming. Once again, her eyebrows raised when about the 10 cents. Montgomery County is 5. They have it now. some folks in Baltimore were concerned that, well, 10 cents may not be a big deal to me. You get 10 cents and equals $1, and some people are on public support. So there was a lot of, these bills are always intricate, but it seemed to me from speaking to the committee officially and then unofficially later, they were going to work out a few things, make some amendments, but I really think that it's going to pass this year. So,
And the interesting thing on the 10 cents on paper bags,
yeah, and it's they must charge it, and that's what caused the the angst. And I was telling Keith the story earlier, and I won't mention any names who said this, but one person who's up in Annapolis that owns a liquor store and was on the board said, well, if I sell somebody a $150 bottle of wine, I sure as heck ain't going to charge them 10 cents for a bottle. So he said he's going to keep a big jar of dimes on this thing there. I go there. But anyhow, sorry for belaboring the point. Thanks for your report. Twin Beach Opioid Abuse Awareness Coalition.
Thank you, Mayor. So our committee, our coalition, had a meeting on February 11th. We've been doing a lot of work to prepare for the Health and Wellness Fair on March 1st. The towns of Chesapeake Beach and North Beach are sponsoring, and that we're organizing. And it's coming together quite nicely. We have, at this point in time, I think over 20 different participants. The sponsors and participants are North Beach Volunteer Fire Department, PNC Bank, Subway, Circle of Angels, and then the Calvert Health Medical Center will have their van there and be offering blood pressure testing and maybe some other non-invasive testing, health testing. The mobile crisis treatment van will be there for to educate the public about what they're doing, which we had a talk on last town council meeting. And let's see, some of the other groups: North Beach Dental Care, Calvert County Public Schools Head Start Program, Commission on Aging, Calvert County Behavioral Health, Southern Maryland Community Health, Calvert County Sheriff's Office, Pathways, Calvert Alliance Against Substance Abuse, the Community Ministry of Calvert County, Community Meditation Center of Calvert County, Center for Vein Restoration, the Calvert County Health Department, Community Health. Several of their departments will be there offering information on different aspects of services that they offer. Therapy Cafe, Avenues Recovery Center, Maryland Coalition of Families, Healthy Families of Calvert County, and Positive Vibes will all be participating. And that's not the complete list. This is just the folks we knew about on the 11th. So, it's going to be a big event. We hope you can make it. We're going to have door prizes for folks who come. The town will be offering one, the town of North Beach. And then PNC Bank has donated some materials, as has Subway. And the Circle of Angels have donated some materials. So we hope to, be giving out door prizes every 15 minutes or half hour, depending on how many donations we get. Keep an eye out for this flyer. I think that it's been on the emails that are being sent out and on the town's website. We hope you can make it. It's from 11 until 2 on Sunday, March 1st, North Beach Fire Department. So I think with that, that's all I'm going to talk about, because that's really all we talked about at our last meeting. Seemed to consume us. And I do want to thank sincerely North Beach Volunteer Fire Department. They are donating that space to us to hold this event. That was a wonderful thing. The other thing I wanted to mention, it'd be great if we could get some of those smoke detectors to give out at this event. Health and wellness. This is about
We'll have to
keeping.
talk about that. We
Yeah,
may
yeah.
have some plans for that, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But that would be a great way to get some of those out there. And who else I wanted to thank? Of course, Marty Gilpin, Holly, both for your help in getting this organized, as well as Don Richardson in North Beach. And there was one other person, and I'm going to be Ashley, of course, Ashley Staples, who's been taking the lead, doing a lot of work for us. So thank you all.
Councilman Favre, Walkability Community Advisory Group.
All right, thank you. So in your packets, you have a written summary of our meeting in January, and I did provide a verbal summary of that at the last council meeting in January. Once again, I want to thank Larry and Greg from the Economic Development Committee for joining us on that day in January. Had a great discussion on how the efforts of both of our groups complemented each other. We did not have a meeting in February, which would have been this Monday on President's Day. We did not have a meeting. We are in discussions with the North Beach Ecotourism Chair to join us for a meeting soon, but that's not set yet. Our planning firm, they've been scheduled to come to Chesapeake Beach to do another site visit. They've been had to reschedule for weather purposes, and I believe they're coming in early March, if I recall, and Jay is going to be part of that effort as well. So there's a number of questions they have that Jay is going to be able to give them some great insight in their planning. And then probably the most impactful thing to share on this is our upcoming public meeting that's being planned. We are looking at either in March or April to host a public meeting jointly with planning and zoning, so we can discuss with the public the comprehensive plan and then how the walkability plan kind of folds into that. So we are discussing that, and we're initially at the initial planning stages to discuss that public meeting, which may be here, may be over in the community center, but that would be hopefully another opportunity like the initial planning and zoning meetings with a comprehensive plan where we had a lot of public input and presentations and whatnot. So that's what we're looking for in March and April. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. No unfinished business. New business. Council to appoint Jeff Larson to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And if you guys didn't know Jeff before this meeting, he truly is a great guy. Can't believe he's raising his grandchildren here, but God love him, huh? And the beach lives on, right? Yeah. Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that cares to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, thank you. We'll move on. Council lightning round. I'll start with the council vice president.
Or just two things. First, following up on what Larry was talking about with the census, be aware that in mid-March you should receive a postcard. So when you go out to your mail and pick it up, look for that postcard. On that postcard, there'll be a 12-digit number and a way to access the internet, and go ahead and fill it out. So the idea is look for it in mid-March, around March 12th, 15th. Second, I wanted to mention that I'm starting to work on the Dragon Boat for the town of Chesapeake Beach and End Hunger in Calvert County fundraiser. And the race itself is June 13th. So I'm looking to raise $2,000 in the registration fee and develop and fill out our team. And I look forward to the town council, anyone from Public Works and community members to be on our boat and to help with the fundraising. Thank you.
Sure.
Just one last thing to build on that census, on how important this is. Federal funding and to a degree state funding is based on the numbers in the census, on how they distribute money. So it's important that we are fully representative in that census count to get our fair share of that funding.
And
I had another really important thing to share, and now I can't remember what it was. Anyway, thank you.
real quick, Valerie, if you will, remind me to bring a check to the council meeting when you'll be taking some contributions to sponsor a team. Okay, thank you. 'Cause I'll forget if you don't remind me.
I'll remind you.
What it was. And it's-
See, I knew if I said something. it would
Dragon
come back. There's a couple old guys taking care of each other.
Important.
Yeah?
Dragon
The
boat.
second thing
Larry's
is, don't
paddling.
forget, 2 weeks from Sunday, change your clocks.
Keith.
Thank you all for coming out. I don't have any additional announcements, so I appreciate it. You have a good evening.
Yeah, I too
Councilman
want to
Favre.
thank those who came out, especially my friends in Den 10, PAC 789 out of Dunkirk. they've gone home. Hopefully they're finishing their homework and getting ready for bed. But I want to thank them for coming out tonight too. Again, they were a fun group to be in. And if anyone asked you to do that, and I know you all would anyway, but it's a really fun time to talk to some of those kids, because they really got some fun ideas and really good questions. So highly recommend it.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you. Pleasure.
Yeah.